Now they... Let me finish. They own lots of property. Let me finish. Now, how many interracial films do you see across the board in Hollywood? Almost every film.
What do you mean interracial? You mean a cast that are multiracial?
Pre-2010, and I know this, pre-2010. Can you name me an interracial film where it's a black man and a white woman?
Are you talking about this? Mr. Black? Is that what you're obsessed with? Or maybe this? Remember? Blacked? Is that what you're obsessed with? Interracial movies? Or what are you talking about with that hat on? Remember that hat? Blacked? You're talking about interracial movies in Hollywood. You're obsessed with interracial movies. Now, I'm going to really dissect this particular video, but before I do, let me just repeat this, and I'm going to put this to you, because you asked me, have I got any shame? And before I start the video and analyse it, I'm going to say the same thing to you.
Already have a hard time retelling their cases when they even go to report them. Yeah. For you to be coming to the park and telling everyone her story, do you not have any shame?
So, Mr. Black, Mr. Rajiv, Mr. Black Hat Guy, Mr. Sophistry, once again, do you not have any shame? You're at Speaker's Corner with a black hat on, which is promoting black interracial porn. You're talking about white supremacy and how black people are being oppressed. And when I go through this video, I'm going to really show your hypocrisy, really show you your sophistry. And what I've been saying from day one, you are very disingenuous. You have an ulterior motive, which is to attack white people. That is your main goal. You don't care about what Muslims done. You don't care about the Arab slave trade. You don't care about anything else apart from what white people have done to black people. So your whole life and your whole purpose is to humiliate and embarrass and attack white people for what they have done to your people in the past. Now, I put those particular clips in the beginning. Now, I'm going to say something. This particular video, I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, guys, I wouldn't recommend watching it. It is really, really, really... I would recommend watching it, but you've got to kind of like maybe have a bucket so you don't vomit. Maybe, you know, switch your brain off to a certain degree, because you're going to hear some mad stuff. Before I go on, I'm not at home, so obviously when I'm not at home I do more videos for some goddamn reason, because I get bored. So you might have 2 videos in one day of me just talking. This one's going to be an analysis of the video where he's talking about white supremacy and his victimhood. Now, I'm going to start the video, like I'm around my sister basically. The reason I don't tell people about what's going on in my family life is because these evil online, whatever you want to call them, will just use it against me. So even things that are that I'm doing for my family, which is a positive thing, would be used obviously against me. So I cannot give them ammunition like that. So I could keep it private. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go for this particular video. I don't know how long this video is going to be, because there's so much in there to dissect. And I want to say to Mr. Rajiv, Mr. Sophistry, the Black Hat Guy, you are my favourite ever person to come to Speaker's Corner. That's my compliment to you. Because you know why? You're comedy gold. The reason why you're such comedy gold is because you take yourself so seriously. I know I can be completely ludicrous in the way I behave and the way I look, and a lot of people are self-aware in that way, but you are so obnoxious and serious and arrogant in your behavior that you come across as almost like a David Brent kind of character. I don't know whether you're real or not, because I don't think you're speaking, but I don't think you're listening to what you're saying, or you are and you just have no shame, like you said to me. Maybe that's what it is. You got no shame. I'm going to go over the video, but I'm going to start. I will go from the beginning and try and skip through a lot of it. But I'm going to go from the most important bit, which I showed just a minute ago, yeah? And that is going to be what I call the biggest issue with Mr. Black Hat Guy. Now, once again, I'm going to let you listen to this section.
Do I have the same opportunities to become a movie star as everyone else? To take off that romance. Is it equal?
Interracial, you mean a cat?
Do you know how many Jews owned property 300 years ago?
Wait. Let me finish.
No, they weren't allowed. Now they...
Oh, sorry about that. I'll do.
Let me finish. Now, how many interracial films do you see across the board in Hollywood?
Almost every film.
What do you mean interracial? You mean a cast of multiracial?
Pre-2010, and I know this, pre-2010, can you name me an interracial film where it's a black man and a white woman?
So he knows pre-2010. He's been studying this for like he's doing a degree.
Because historically, the majority has always been white men with foreign women.
Yeah, so alright. Remember that silly hat he's wearing, Mr. Black Hat Guy? How he has any shame to talk at Speaker's Corner with that hat on, I still don't know. Please, people, call him up on it. Embarrassed. See how long it takes before his ego will get the better of him and he will say, alright, fair enough. Now, I'm going to show you another bit just to put things into context. 111 is hopefully this will be it.
Because if you create, like I said, we're talking about archetype. If you give
Now he's talking about archetype, kind of characters in movies and stuff. And listen to what he says.
There's always either the cowardly black guy, and you get this a lot in films, or the overtly masculine black guy. And this relates right back to the propaganda that they used to assert that black men are hypersexual, black men are like aggressive, black men are too abrupt.
All right, say that again.
Of a similar superhero.
Oh, sorry.
About seeing yourself aggressive, black men are too abrupt. Now, when we're talking about character archetype, and this relates right back to the propaganda that they used to assert that black men are hypersexual, black men are like aggressive, black men are too abrupt. Now, when we're talking about character
Now, does that not remind you of Blacked, the porn site, about hypersexual black men with big appendages who are dominating white women? Do you not think this stereotypes a black man as well in terms of an archetype in a very negative way? Do you not think this showing a little white girl being blacked makes it out as if black men are kind of like overly sexualized? Now, obviously, I had to do research. You know, it was very difficult to do research on this black website, but I had to do it. Someone else got to do it. And trust me, it is one of the most racially charged websites you're going to get. It is literally depicting black men as these overly sexual men that he is complaining about that white people have been doing during slavery. Black.com does the same thing. And you're wearing it on your hat. So you are one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever met. Because you're complaining about a stereotype of black men being overly sexualized, but you are supporting a website where black men are overly sexualized, dominating white women. Now, I am going to say something very controversial before I go on. Now, one of the things is that in order to... Now, before I go on, people do not get triggered. I believe... that, you know, you need to better yourself and build your own community up before you can help other communities. So this is the best way to do it. And, you know, when Gang were doing their kind of thing, I always agreed with them that, you know, you've got to sort your own in-house out first before you can start helping other people. Now, what I'm going to say is this, and this is, you're going to probably wonder, why am I so cruel to Rajiv or whatever his name, Mr. Sophistry? It's because he's a danger, in my opinion, to the youth of tomorrow, in terms of the black youth. I believe he's a danger. I believe that he's going to be a detrimental in terms of progressing. Now, the reason I say this is this. He's a hypocrite, obviously. He goes on about white oppression and that white people done this and white people done that. I'm going to go into that in a little bit. But first, I'm going to say one thing. His girlfriend's white. Yeah. Nothing wrong with having an interracial relationship. I have no problems with interracial relationships. But when you are putting yourself in a position where you are trying to better your people and trying to be a spokesperson for your people, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. You've got to lead by example. And supporting stuff like this, black.com and all that kind of stuff, is not leading by example. You're sending out a very negative message to the people that are watching these videos and they see it. Now, I'm going to say something very controversial, but I want you to listen to what I'm saying and stop getting triggered and wetting your panties. So listen to what I'm saying first and listen to it carefully. In order for you to better your community, I believe that you should marry within your community. This sounds quite controversial because I'm not saying that any community is better or not. So I will give you an example. So the Sikhs, in order for us to kind of contain our wealth within our community, contain our wealth and pass it down to generation within the Sikh community, it is best to marry another Sikh person because they are more likely to keep it within that particular community, and you can build the wealth up over a long period of time, and the community can become much more prosperous as a community and much more affluent. And this is why the Sikh community is very successful, the Hindu community and stuff like that are very successful. Obviously, we're outperforming it now. I'm going to dig the Muslim community. We are outperforming them in every category. I'm not going to say why in this video. That's another video. Now, for the black community to retain wealth and to prosper, they have to, in a way, be have in-group preference. I'm not saying be racist. I'm saying when Mr. Black Cat guy is going out with a white woman, and he's been there for 8 years or whatever it is, I don't know how long, and he's wearing that black hat, and he's going around his mother-in-law's house with a black hat on, and probably sniggering to himself, like, making fun of, how he's humiliating his girlfriend. I don't know. You're gonna say I'm getting personal, but to me, that is humiliating your girlfriend. It's like me going out with a white woman, and I've got some kind of Asian porn site about Asian men dominating white women. It's embarrassing. If I was that person's father, his girlfriend's father, I would be furious. Now, for him, what I would say, if you want to better your community, get a black woman, a strong black woman. Probably you can't handle a strong black woman, I don't know. Get a black woman, yeah, have kids with that black woman, and then pass your wealth onto your kids. Your kids will then pass their wealth onto their kids, yeah. And the way to keep it within your particular community and to build wealth, especially if you're a minority, is to have in-group preference. Now, I'll give an example. Say if Mr. Rajiv marries his white girlfriend, has a kid, that kid's mixed race. He has a dual kind of culture. He then, for argument's sake, then marries another white woman, and that kid will then probably be almost white in complexion. At some point, if that keeps on happening, the wealth of that particular community or that particular family will go into the white family, and ultimately probably into a white community. Yeah, and that is just my theory. It may not be right, but if you have a black family marrying between the black, and then passing the wealth down, you can build your wealth up within the community. There is more likely that black people will put wealth back into the black community, yeah, and build that up. Yeah, you also, will have a stable family with a father, the kids, and everything, and that is the best way to build wealth within your own community, I personally believe. And so when you have, now before I go on, I am not against interracial relationships. I am saying in order for a community to, let's say, prosper and kind of build themselves, sometimes you have to, in the beginning especially, have in-group preference. Example is the Sikhs, for the first 30 years, didn't marry anyone. I don't remember anyone getting married outside of the side of the Sikh faith. Now I see a lot of people marrying white people, black people and stuff like that. Obviously, Muslims are going to be much harder for obvious reasons. I'm not going to say why in this video. But you then have people thinking, and now it's not so much of a problem now because the Sikhs have established themselves and have managed to kind of get a foothold and be successful within the UK, and so that has kind of what I called helped us having that in-group preference because you manage to keep your wealth within that particular community and build it and become prosperous. Now I'm going to go into the video now. I'm going to try and skim through it because I'm not going to lie. I've got look how many notes I've got. It is insane. Like, I don't know what to do. I mean, everyone's going to say, oh, you're pretty. You know, he calls me the old man that's got nothing better to do. You're damn right I'm an old man. I haven't got better to do, nothing better to do. I like nothing better to than just go through YouTube videos and just write down stuff. I'm a very weird person like that. And so before I go on, this particular talk was actually about, this particular chat was actually about white supremacy, slavery, and it just went all over the place. It was an embarrassing conversation. Rajiv totally humiliated himself, in my opinion, and just showed himself to be a victim of a perpetual victim of white supremacy. Now, before I go on, I don't disagree with. I don't have a yes. I'm not rooting for or not rooting for reparations. I believe that if somebody can prove their descendants, like people from America, their descendants were from slaves or people from the Caribbean or anyone like that, and they can prove that their descendants were slaves and it's had a negative effect on their descendants. I don't really have an issue if the government wants to pay them money for it because I think there's a difference between being enslaved and shipped over to another continent and being colonized. Colonization and enslavement is two different things, and if you try to conflate the two together, you're being completely disingenuous. And this is the issue I have with Black Hat Guy, Mr. Sophistry. He is trying to put his particular, what I called colonization, in the same the same bracket as people that have been whose ancestors have been enslaved. People from America and the Caribbean and stuff like that, they were ripped out of their continent, shipped over, their names were lost, their faith was lost, all of their history was lost. And so they definitely have some kind of what I call just reason to be aggrieved. And so I'm not going to argue against that because a lot of the stuff is about reparations. What I'm going to really argue, what I'm really going to dissect in this video is that Rajiv himself has latched onto this, and he himself is a perpetual, eternal victim of white supremacy. And before I go on, I don't believe in being an eternal victim. What I believe in is this, and I think the reason why the Sikhs are so a formidable kind of like group of people is because we're not victims. Obviously, if you know the Sikh history, you will be shocked at the brutality and the hardship that the Sikh people have gone through. And, there was at points in the 17th century where Sikhs were had bounties on their head. There's been 2 genocides that I've known of that I think one was in 1762. And you're talking about 50,000 Sikhs were massacred by the Mughals, the Islamic Mughals. Yeah, we beat them afterwards anyway, so big up to the Sikhs. 50,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider the population was, maybe 150,000 or whatever it was, 200,000, it's a huge amount from that community to be lost. So we had massive issues and been persecuted, but with 1762, I'll give an example. I'm going to give you an example of how you beat your oppressors. You become better than them, and the best way to do it is to actually surpass them. Be better than them and surpass them. And so with the Sikhs, not only in 1762, sorry if I got the date wrong, thousands of Sikhs were killed, the Sikhs were on the back foot. Within 50 years, the Sikhs had then gone from that to then ruling over a whole swathe of their oppressors, who were 75% of the population were Muslim, and they were only 15%, and they ruled over them. That is the best way to get over and get one on top of your oppressors. Now, big up Hari Singh Nalawal. We know that he's one of the baddest ass generals to ever live. Anyone from Afghanistan, especially, will know how much of an incredible general he was. And so the Sikhs, I'm giving the Sikhs an example, is that have always been like that. So wherever the Sikhs go, they're successful. We don't believe in being a victim. Obviously, the British Empire and the colonialism, we do not agree with. Yeah, we have issues with 1984. The British were colluding in that. We have problems with the colonialism. We don't agree with that because Punjab was cut up and everything and all of this kind of baloney. But overall, when we go somewhere, we do not forget the past, but we do not let the past hold us down like shackles and mental slavery that are called. We are the people that are not, we have been victimized, but we're not victims anymore. We are winners. Yeah. And this is what I want people to understand when I'm watching this video, that the stuff that I keep on hearing from Mr. Black Cat guy is all about, oh my God, it's me, I'm oppressed. It's to do with oppression, it's to do with racism. You know, he doesn't take into account maybe he's just not good enough. I'm just being brutally honest. I may not be good enough for certain reasons. I'm not going to blame it because of racism. And maybe you're just not good enough as a person, yeah? Maybe you need to look into that. Maybe that's why, you know, things may not plan out the way you want it to. I'm not talking about him in general, but just people. People tend to blame it on other stuff. So I'm going to go through the video. I mean, God knows, it's already 20 minutes. And I haven't even talked about anything, for God's sakes. I don't even know if I can do this video because it's so long. Let's try and thingy. I'm going to try and... I mean, the Jews here also have had an absolutely terrible time. Yeah. And that is one of the things that, you know, the Jews are actually the ultimate winners in terms of being your oppressors. Because whatever people think of them, man, they are, you know, literally surpassing everyone in every particular field. And big up the Jews, man, because I respect them highly, because for me, they're winners, man. They know how to succeed. And now, there's bits, I was going to go over stuff, but I can't. I have to leave a lot of stuff now. So let me just check if I can...
No one's like, I'm not arguing that they...
I don't think I ever asserted that you were saying that.
No. So you asked how they got to Jamaica, and I just explained how they got to Jamaica. And then they were promised work here, promised citizenship here, and they were screwed over by the British government.
They were capable of more, said this is mine and this is not. I understand you're agreeing with me, but I'm trying to clarify.
You just so want to disagree with everything, even when we agree, you disagree.
Yeah, that's the thing about him.
When we talk about, they said that this was mine and this wasn't. America was well aware of what Africans were capable of. They knew what Africans were capable of. They were capable of more than Europeans. So for them to say, have you got pyramids? Have you got anything that any empires that go back 30, 40,000 years?
So it depends how you trade your faith.
No.
So this says a lot about him, because he says more than. He is a black supremacist as well. He believes he's better than white people and better than other races, but inside his head he believes that because he's actually thinks he's less. You're not less. No black man or white man are less than each other, or brown man. It's just about putting your mind to it, and all of us can achieve the same thing if we really want to do it. Yeah, it's your own mindset that is keeping you back. Now you can hear what he says, and another thing I want to ask you, Mr. V, what civilizations that I don't know of any civilizations, great civilizations that are 30 to 40,000 years old. Please enlighten me. I mean, I can only go back in terms of the Egyptian civilization, which is one of the greatest. You have the Indus Valley civilization, you have Mesopotamia. All of these are going back around maybe 6,000, 7,000 years the most. And so what are these 30 to 40,000 year old empires that you're talking about? I really am interested in that. That's not even a kind of a dig. I just want to know what you're talking about. So let's have a look.
I'm just saying.
No, I know. It's interesting.
That's my point. That was my point comes back at the beginning.
Can you name me a Scottish person that has died under police care?
Because it's not a subject I follow.
What is that? I mean, I'm pretty sure I should have checked it, but I'm pretty sure someone has died under police care. He's trying to make it out as if no one else has died under police custody. Lots of people have. So, you know, it's a very weird question to ask. 28. Should have already gone through it, but, you know, I spoke so much in the beginning. Wasn't planning on speaking so much in the beginning, but unfortunately, I do tend to ramble.
Don't think about, we're talking about, let's go to the bank and let's go get a 50 right now and you can buy me Mac and D's, right? We're talking about, can you set back, right, then stabilize societies, and there were stabilized societies. Yes, they had inter-tribal wars and whatever going on, but everywhere does. But not to the degree that is set now, where we have genocides. Can you name me a genocide before the colonial period?
What are you talking about, Mr. Sophistry? What are you talking about? Before colonialism, you're saying there's no genocides. There have been genocides going on for millennium. You know, before the Brits came to India, there were genocides all over the place. I mean, like we're talking about 150 million people were killed in India over an 800-year period under Islamic rule. The Brits were not the only one, or the Europeans that went around causing genocides. Obviously, they were pretty freaking crazy as well. Sorry, white people, but you're going to get it a bit as well. You are pretty insane, like, you know, all this kind of white supremacy madness that you kind of concocted into your head. And so this kind of victimhood mentality of him thinking that, you know, there was no kind of like brutality or genocide before the Europeans is insane, dude. It's insane. You cannot say that. I would say that if you had two little tribes in a forest where nobody else was, there was around 50 people in one tribe, 50 people in another tribe, they never met, and they suddenly saw each other, they'll probably start attacking each other, and one tribe will try and dominate the other tribe. This is human nature. This is why I dislike humanity. I'm not going to go into that again, but human nature is very, very flawed, and this is one of the biggest flaws. When they see another group that either want to dominate, either they will kind of assimilate with them or kind of mix with them, or if that doesn't happen, they will try and dominate them. They cannot live side by side for a long period of time. There will be some times where there will be peace, but most times, at some point, there will be some sort of rivalry and some kind of warfare will occur where one group will subjugate the other one. Now, I'm going to go through it in terms of timeline because, you know, that's the best way.
I think that's much of a legitimate argument.
No, I understand.
Genocides all over the world.
So he's got said so much stuff. I don't even know where to go.
Collective punishments all through the ages. It seems like a deadly thing to get into, man. Because the next point I want to raise, and then I'll stop for a second, is this. This is a real critical one, man. But human history, if you study it, as you probably have, is brutality, violence, slavery, genocide, insanity. That is human history, and I would argue of all cultures, right? Now,
Well done. That's what I was saying as well.
where do you stop?
White man.
Who's oppressing who? Some are more recent, some are from the past. Different cultures have been attacking, oppressing, invading, enslaving, non-stop for all of history. So where do you stop, man? He owes to you, you owe to him.
Yeah, can you see the logic on that, Mr. Sophistry? Please listen. Where do you draw the line? Are we going to say we have to give reparations to everybody? Because from your logic, you're equating colonization with slavery. This is what I get from my head. I believe you want reparations for all black people. Now, for me, I have no real issues with reparations of people that have been whose descendants have been enslaved. I think enslavement and the slavery of the transatlantic slave trade is absolutely abhorrent. One of the worst crimes against humanity, no doubt about that. Really sick. If I was to have my ancestor and they were, and I knew they were enslaved the way they were, put into these ships, I would be pretty freaking pissed. I'm not gonna lie. So I think this is why American blacks are having a bit of a problem because of that kind of psyche of knowing their ancestors are being treated in this particular way. One of the things I'm going to say about this guy, he is basically one step away from converting to Islam. He said it in one of the other videos. Now, I personally believe he's not going to convert. He doesn't want to convert to Islam because Obviously, you have to take that stupid hat off. The black Muslims have got some sense. You can't wear a black porn site hat. Another reason he's against circumcision. Big up for that though. I've got to give him some credit because circumcision is evil, evil, evil. One of the worst crimes against humanity. This is one thing we maybe have to have a discussion on one day in the future. God knows when. Probably when hell freezes over. So yeah, I agree with that. So he probably won't do it for that particular reason only. But listen to what he talks. He never talks about the Arab slave trade. Have you realised? Never talks about the Arab slave trade, but will constantly go on about the white slave trade. Now, here's my Jewish brother going on about the Arab.
Can I ask a serious question? Can I ask you, we always talk about like white privilege from whites benefiting from slavery, but the biggest slavers of all were the Arabs, the Ottoman Empire's legacy is Turkey. Is there any movement to get reparation?
If you look at, I was going to say, if you do talk to people in this park, there is a very vocal voice, basically talking to Arab people about whether or not we need to have a talk about reparations. And
Really? I've never heard you talk about it. The slaves that were taken to America, millions of them died on transit. It was a completely barbaric, evil system. Boo to the white people that did it. Sorry, dudes, it was a terrible system. Absolutely evil. But the Arab slave trade was just as brutal, and in some ways even worse. Because we are the descendants of the slaves, the millions of slaves that went to the Arab lands. There's none. Do you know why? Because most of them were castrated. They were castrated so they could not have kids, or they were like eunuchs, so they couldn't have sex or anything with females and that were around. So we never hear about people talking about this. This is why like people like Callum and Sarah Garvey and all of these people are hated so much, because they rightly so do not let the Muslims off on this particular topic, because you have Muslims constantly going on about the Atlantic slave trade, but they never mention about the black slave trade, the Arab slave trade. I mean, and then you have also, they never mention about the Islamic conquest of India and the complete brutality, but they will constantly go on about the British conquest of India. But this is why the hypocrisy of these guys is very hard to stomach. Now, we will go. Some of this stuff is pretty weird. Like, he's a black supremacist. There's no doubt about that. And a black supremacist who actually thinks he's less than white people, which is kind of weird because he has no confidence in himself in terms of his own abilities, I don't think.
The Greeks, they came up with a lot of original ideas. They also borrowed from those that came before them.
many of them went to Egypt to learn.
And that's fine.
They got that information.
The Greeks were
and that practice,
absolutely.
and that practice from an older society. No, but what I'm trying to say is they got that practice.
The Code of Reviews then.
Yeah.
Are you saying that they're better?
No, it's not.
See? Well done, my Scottish brother. You got it. You got it. You got it. He thinks he's better. He thinks the blacks are better than the whites. So he has a form of racism which is just as bad as the white supremacy racism. Can you not see the hypocrisy? He complains about white supremacy, but he believes in black supremacy. He complains about interracial relationships in Hollywood, and the Hollywood or the whites kind of making black men look like hypersexual kind of savages, but he supports a porn site that is supporting this particular concept of a black man being a hypersexual guy with a big appendage, and he wears a black hat at Speaker's Corner, which is a place for debate, but he thinks it's completely fine to promote this particular porn site. We're not going to go into legitimacies of porn, we're just talking about him as an individual going to Speaker's Corner, talking about black issues with a particular message that he's sending out with a porn site hat. It's hard to take someone serious when they're talking about serious issues, when they're propagating porn. So now one of the things, this is going to get a little bit, I feel a bit cruel doing this, but the problem is, I'm going to say something. The reason I'm doing it, I am a bit cruel, if I'm being honest with you. Sorry, God. I'm trying to be a nice person, but I am an arsehole, man. I can't help it. But the reason I'm going to show this bit, because he continuously in the comments belittles me about my he tries to make as if that, you know, I'm not intelligent enough to speak to him. I'm not intelligent enough to have a discussion which is, you know, a productive discussion. And, you know, obviously I have my own issues with my temper and stuff, but if I want to talk about something, I can. I can be much more articulate and much more calm like I am now. But listen to what he says about his uni. Remember, before I go on, I've got a degree. No, before, let me just show you first. Hold on.
I would argue that yourself, an individual who's gone to university, grown up,
Dropped out first year.
Yes, you dropped that first year. I've got a 2-1 in engineering industrial design, and I don't know. Does that make me more intelligent? Does it make me more intelligent? I don't know. You know, I've got more education than you. That's for definite. So education isn't everything, but at least I made it through the 3 years. You know, and maybe it was white supremacy that kind of made you fail your uni degree and drop out in the first year. God knows. That's probably what you blame it on. But in reality, you just probably wasn't good enough. Nothing to do with your race. You know, we're all people. It has nothing to do with race. And so, one of the things is that he's always going on about me being unhinged. When you call someone unhinged, you're basically saying they're mentally unhinged. Now, look at the course that he was doing through that time, yeah, and you'll see that it was probably best that he didn't make it through the whole course. Listen to the course he was doing.
90 years ago.
You did bloody well, I know that. But I'm saying you had to get in. Yeah?
Yeah, we're saying Jews can go to university today. No one's saying they can't.
I'm saying, but
We're
now,
saying historically.
but the question
So
was
can-
raised today.
But yes, he went to university.
No,
I didn't.
more than likely.
You went to university.
Alright.
You haven't actually asked which university I went to.
Which
Some
university?
universities are piss poor and really easy to get into.
What
So
university?
you're making assumptions there.
Open university.
Oh, should have
I'm
put
not
it
going to blame
forward.
myself.
No, bro.
What did you study?
I'll step out at that point.
What did you study?
So again, what did you study? I was mental health nursing at the time.
Okay.
Now, can I say something to you, Mr. Sophistry? Another part of your problem is this. You're very arrogant, stuck up, think you're always right, and have a demeanor which is obnoxious. You're trying to go into mental health, because I suffer from mental health issues. The last person I would want to meet is someone like you. Because you always think you're right. You always think that, you know, you're kind of God's gift. You're Mr. Sophistry. So obviously what sophistry means, I need to explain it again just in case people don't know, that people that use long elaborate words come across as very articulate and thingy, but what they're saying is pretty much garbage because it's all based on a faulty premise, or it's baseless in its kind of like premise. And so the thing is, another thing is, if you was to go into mental health, calling people mentally unhinged is pretty let's just say inappropriate. I would say the word, because the thing is, like, you know, you should know better to call me unhinged. I've been quite open about my issues with mental health and stuff, and so keep on calling me keep on calling me unhinged. Do you think is that probably why you dropped out your course? Because they probably realise you're not going to be adequately they can't adequately train you enough to get to that point where you're empathetic with other people. Well, I don't know. That's just my particular observation. And so let's have a look. I've marked out places. Whether I'm going to go to all of them, God knows, because the thingy is already 103.
What holds some of Scotland back? What holds some of Brixton back?
Hold
what
on.
holds some of... Yeah.
So,
No, I was very singing because it's singularly Africa.
and less of a stepping stone for someone else. How do you then turn around and say that we live in a more equal society?
Because you have the same opportunities as me, as this Glaswegian. Like, Glaswegians can get into university. Sorry, Scotland. Scottish can get to university now. They even have universities in Scotland. St Andrews. We live in a different age. Like, what holds some of Scotland back?
Yeah, I mean, we're living in the 21st century now. And so, you know, what held our forefathers back is not going to be holding us back to the same degree. I am not saying there's no racism. I'm not saying there's no obstacles for us. I'm not saying there's no prejudices between in terms of organizations or you know, the kind of like hierarchy and the kind of institutions and stuff like that. But to believe that you are perpetually under the foot of white supremacy is not going to get you nowhere, because you're already putting yourself on what I call a back foot. Yeah, you cannot go into to go in somewhere if you want to be successful if you already think you're going to fail, because the system is set up for you to fail. Now, if this was America in the 50s and 60s, they have a legitimate reason to believe that, because it was set up for them to fail. There's no doubt about that. But that is not the case today. We are not in America. We're in the UK, and right now, as of this moment, we don't really have any obstacles for us to succeed as you know, a minority groups. Now I'm going to go back to the interracial stuff, because this is my favorite. Let's go back to it. I already talked about it, but why not talk about it more? Because it's just so interesting. So he goes. He starts talking about Star Trek here. Listen.
Do I have the same opportunities? Do I have the same opportunities to become a movie star as everyone else?
Do you have the same opportunities to become a movie star than anyone else? You judge for yourself. Do you look like a movie star? Don't think so. So probably not. I don't look like a movie star either, unless we were both playing some kind of weirdos in a movie. Then we could probably both get a role. But no, you can't. Not everybody's going to be a movie star, dude. Not because of your race, but because we just don't look the part.
If you watch the movies recently, there's no absence of black people on screen today.
No, that's actually brilliant that you brought that up.
Brilliant that you brought that up. Why? Let's see what brilliant response he will give.
They systematically don't allow certain people to become supposedly actors because they don't market well. Do you know why they don't market well? Because people don't like seeing people of color on screen. And the reason I'll say this.
Oh my God. That's okay. No, it's not okay. You're very patronising.
Can I make a suggestion? I'll give you some evidence if you want.
Where's the evidence? Let's see.
When Star Trek first had
When Star Trek first.
screened their first interracial kiss, do you know what happened?
When was this? In the Supremacy time.
1968.
Dude, we are talking about 2018. That was from freaking 1960s. Can you understand this? You are not in the 1960s now. Bringing this up now as something that is affecting black people in cinema today is ludicrous. Ludicrous. You know, I mean, for God's sakes. I think people are just too scared to be rude to you. If I was there, I would have like ripped you to shreds on that one.
You know what we're talking about today? No.
Thank you, my Jewish brother.
How the industry acts later on. Do you know why? I'll continue. Let me finish and then you'll understand. So I'll ask you again. What happened?
You tell me.
The ratings shot down. They
Oh.
had to take off that romance completely. Otherwise, they said they would have been cancelled.
So I'm going to make
Now
an
that's
analogy.
Star Trek.
Do you know how many Jews owned property
wait.
300 years ago?
Wait. Let me finish.
None. They weren't allowed.
Let me finish.
Now they
Let me finish.
own lots of property.
Well done, my Jewish brother and the rest of the guys here, for putting up with this arrogance. Whoa, it takes a special kind of patience to be able to deal with this.
Let me finish. Now, how many interracial films do you see across the board?
Once again, interracial films. Look, you've got it now, for God's sakes. You've got it. You've got your black.com. You've got your porn site. That's your movie you wanted. Is it not? Is it not what you wanted? You've got it. White women being subjugated by black men. You're obviously, you know, wearing your little blacked. Let's have a look. Where is he gone? It's kind of disappeared from the camera. This is not going to.
They were vulnerable.
So what is it? You know, seriously, I should have freaking thought about this. But if you look, what is that? blacked on his hat. Yeah? Blacked. You can walk around with black on your hat all day long if that makes you feel better, to publicize this black porn site, that because you're upset there's not enough interracial relationships on Hollywood. Why not care about there being what I call strong black families in Hollywood? Why don't you push forward for that? Rather than having interracial families, have a strong black family. A beautiful wife with a black guy with beautiful children who are all black. And what they do is they show a functional black family. Rather than you going on about your goddamn interracial relationships. You're obsessed with it because you're obsessed with white people, because you feel inferior. So how you get your one up on them is to walk around with that black hat on with your white girlfriend and walk around and just humiliate her. Because for me, that's humiliating your girlfriend. I'm being straight with you. For me, it's humiliating your girlfriend. You're not going to like it. People are going to say I'm attacking you. If you came around my house and that was my daughter and I saw that black hat on, I'd smack it off your head. Yeah, because that is disrespecting them as well. If you go around someone's house and you're wearing this porn site hat around somebody's house and you're dating their daughter, it is really disrespectful. Now you're constantly going on about this particular kind of thingy. Marry a black woman, yeah, and have a black family. That's the way you propagate your people.
Pre-2010, and I know this. Pre-2010.
See, he knows this because he's been researching interracial couples like it's his hobby.
Sorry, I thought you meant like an interracial castle person.
You mean like a romance?
Yeah. Because historically, the majority has always been white men with foreign women. That's
Oh
the
my God,
majority.
who cares?
What is the percentage, and is it reflecting and equal?
Oh my God, who cares?
Can I just...
Is it equal?
Can I make it...
I need to ask you a question.
Who cares?
Can I answer your
When you
question?
set that kind of precedent and you set that kind of marketability, you already make it harder for certain people to get into, say, the entertainment industry as it is. So I will ask you, why do you think there's such an upsurgence in interracial films recently as opposed to pre-2000?
Are you talking about interracial films like this? Is that what you want?
I believe there's a huge, as I say, there's a huge political movement that fixates on the colour of someone's skin
I believe
and
more
puts in place...
Yes, you're right.
representation now are in the circles that make the decision.
I'd say that's true
So
as well.
I
That might
do
be true,
believe
but can I make...
I do believe now we do have a little bit more of a
Can I-
representative voice.
Can I answer your
But
question? That's all I was
there's
saying.
still, no, I'm saying, there's still that system.
It
where
took you
we
a long time to
understand-
agree with us, but that's fine.
Understand.
Can I answer your question?
It's like even in Star Wars, the recent Star Wars. You think people hate the last one because it was shit?
Oh my God, he's blaming the last Star Wars failure. I'm thinking he's talking about Last Jedi. Absolutely atrocious, garbage film. One of the worst Star Wars films ever. Totally destroyed Luke Skywalker. Had nothing to do with the hero being black. Is that what you're trying to insinuate now? For God's sakes, even Star Wars gets it. You know, what is wrong with you? How do you live your life like this? Dude, how do you live your life like this when you're constantly thinking everything is to do with race? You know, it's sick. It just must be soul destroying.
Per se, it's not a racial... It's partly a commercial decision because when people are making movies, they're thinking about the market, who's going to watch it.
Yes. So if you are in Asia, yeah, in India, what kind of heroes are you going to have there? Asian heroes, yeah? Indian heroes. Maybe they're a bit too white, but they're still Indian heroes, yeah? If you're in China, what are you going to have? Chinese heroes, yeah? Chinese actors. If you're in Africa, what are you going to have majority? Black actors, African actors. You know, Japan, what are you going to have? I mean, the majority of Europe and America are white. So you will have the majority of the actors will be white on screen. That's just the way it is. I don't complain there's no freaking Sikh guy people in there. You know, it's absolutely, everything has to be kind of like, you know, it has to be 100% Oh, you know, you need to have like diversity 100% to meet every criteria.
Actually, there's even a black god. Morgan Freeman was a black god.
So there's no archetype.
So no black actors. Listen to him now.
African people in cinema, in Hollywood. Please tell me the diverse roles that you can see.
Diverse roles. Oh my God, man. So you're telling me there's no diverse role of black people? Please, I can't even like speak about it because I've seen so many incredible performances of diverse roles from black people. You know, you can just list them, man, and list them. You know, obviously you have your obvious ones like Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith. You know, you have other comedians like Kevin Hart, who does the comedy side. You have a lot of British actors that are now going in, black British actors that are now going into America. And you have all of these kind of incredible actors and stuff. You know, I'm not complaining there's no freaking Sikhs in there, man, or nothing like that, or Asians. There's no Indians in there, for God's sakes. And, you know, they're quite a big population in America. So, you know, this silliness, like everything has to go back to race.
There's plenty of very famous films that have black
Yes.
protagonists.
Yes, my white brother.
Heroic, that are
There's always even the cowardly black guy, and you get this a lot in films, or the overtly masculine black guy. And this relates right back to the propaganda that they used to assert that black men are hypersexual.
Hypersexual, you're complaining against that, but you support this? Yeah, you're complaining against that, but you support that, and you walk around Speaker's Corner with that, and you want to break the narrative of hypersexual black men by propagating a porn site that is promoting hypersexual black men. Can you not see your hypocrisy? You know, it's absolutely insane that you even think what you're doing is normal. Now, in terms of like I said, he goes on to the hip hop, yeah.
How basically there's always an archetype. There's overly aggressive African men.
Yeah, an archetype, like maybe a porn star with a big penis who dominates white people. Is that an archetype?
Cowardly kind of thing. And there's never really an in-between or an exploration of those characters.
I don't see why that is.
So the next thing is about hip hop, yeah. And I have my own issues with hip hop now because I think it's destructive the way it's going.
It's not even funny. It's no.
And,
You don't. No, because there's certain songs that don't pay.
And he blames white people for the whole ills of hip hop. You've got the black artists must take responsibility for what they're putting out as well. Do you hear me? You cannot just say it's the white people. If you care about your community, don't put that garbage out, which is showing your community kind of like, you know, killing each other and stuff. You've got to take responsibility as well. You cannot just blame the white man for funding that.
I'm saying you can take cases from 20
So then you
years
have
ago.
one of
You go
the
to any downtown suburb,
Yeah.
wherever, Detroit, Chicago, and listen to the music that's being produced there on the streets by actual people. They're producing it, they're pushing out the message. It's not white people to writing these songs.
So now listen to this. Listen, it's very important now.
Yeah, I do, but I don't know. I like to try and take these conversations to something more practical, like what do we want to change or what do we want to achieve in the current day, rather than talking too much about the past.
I don't think there's that much that we can change. For me,
All right, so what's the point of talking then? If you don't think there's anything that can be changed? Do you want to be a eternal victim of white supremacy? Is that your comfort lane? You don't think there can be any change? How are you ever going to progress if you don't think you can have any change? You know, it's unbelievable. What's the point of trying to better yourself, yeah, and trying to move forward if your own mindset is that you cannot change? Yeah, you cannot change. Listen to that again, because this tells you the madness that goes through this guy's head sometimes.
I don't think the R&B image is that like aggressive. The R&B is more like
It's nearly an hour. I've got to stop it.
Yeah, I do, but I don't know. I like to try and take these conversations to something more practical.
Yeah, it's
like,
more
what do we
practical,
want
more
to
positive.
change or what do we want to achieve in the current day,
to
rather
be
than
honest, I don't think
talking
there's
too much
that
about
much.
the
I don't
past.
think there's that much that we can change. For me personally, the conversation is there, the argument is there, the logistics are there, but the voice for some reason that.
Yeah, so, yeah. Now, 1:17. I'm going to try and I need to keep it under an hour, man. God's sakes, please, sorry for this, but I've got to go through the whole thing in one go now.
Question, bear with me. I'm trying to remember.
It's nearly finished.
Ask me a question in particular about how, if we go back historically and look back at the people, they were violent anyway. Humanity, right?
Humanity is violent.
I asked you for an example of African societies. I asked you for an example of African societies that had the same level of destabilizing violence as Europe. You couldn't give me an answer.
Another historian. What
Then
an
why did you
anthropologist.
come up with a question?
Now you hear this, yeah? He's saying, give an example of a society which is black that caused destabilization like the Europeans. Now listen to this killer answer later on from my Jewish brother, I think. Because remember, you're claiming that or the Egyptians were all black. Now listen to this.
So to assume that Africans were just peace-loving, never had a war in their life is nonsense.
No, but where is the destabilizing? Where's the destabilizing? No, because I have to answer all of you. I can't just be rude.
Okay, are you saying Egyptians are African?
Say that again?
Egyptians are the
Egyptians
Africans.
and
They went into the Middle East and conquered vast lands. They stretched right the way up to Syria, where they conquered lands from other people. That's a destabilizing.
Checkmate. Yeah, no civilization has been that peaceful. I do believe that certain climates do create more kind of aggressive communities. I do think colder climates where you have a winter and a summer and stuff like that, seasons, can cause people to be much more kind of territorial. I'll go in that in a different video if people want to write it down. I do think hotter climates, people tend to be more kind of relaxed and stuff. I don't want to go into it, but I do believe that I think winter in Europe and the seasons, it causes a territorial kind of warlike kind of people, and more hotter climates where there's plenty of fruit and thing does create more kind of peaceful society. But that doesn't mean that no one was warring. It doesn't mean that nobody was fighting and conquering. It's nearly over, basically. Thank God, even I'm fed up with this. I'm not going to lie, I'm totally fed up with this. I don't know how I've managed to get through the whole thing. Now, let's... here it is.
Okay, are you saying Egyptians are African?
Say that again?
Egyptians are the
Oh,
Africans.
sorry.
They went into the Middle East and conquered vast lands.
180.
They stretched right the way up to Syria, where they conquered lands from other people. That's a destabilizing war. Egyptians.
Sorry, 190.
Destabilizing, then they have to prove what did Europeans need for Africans.
So I'll get to my questions before you jump to him.
Now, he's talking about colonialism. What did Europeans leave for Africans, or even